when you've got a case of old man's bladder, even a simple setback like the toilet door getting jammed can be quite a nuisance. So I'm going to do something about it as soon as I finish this job. That door on the old garden shed has caused me loads of problems, jamming and leaking and generally causing problems. So now that I'm using the shed a lot more and for nicer reasons than just an old garden shed, I'm going to treat it to a new door. First I'm going to make a new door frame, because this door that I scored for nothing is hinged on the wrong side and it opens inwards instead of outwards. So my friend Brent suggested to me, why not just make a rustic frame, put it on the outside of the building, set the door into that, and then you can have an outside opening door and you'll have more floor space inside your small building. And I thought, oh Brent, you're so clever. It's awesome when you get two brains on the job. I never thought of having a door that opens outwards. So yeah, I've got a lot of modifications to do to the door, and I've got to make this door frame, but it's all so easy. These screws I'm using are called bugle screws. They're bloody awesome. They're designed for landscaping. They're heavily galvanised, and they've got a staunch drive in the top of them. They come all sorts of lengths, and you can just screw them in with impunity into wooden framed buildings. So this is going together really fast and really easily, and it's costing me next to nothing, because this timber comes from a mate's mill, and it's what they call first cuts. It's got live edge boards, and so you can't really sell them. It's more or less firewood. So I get this stuff real cheap, and it looks nice. So there's my basic frame, but I've still got this scummy old door in it, and that'll do for now. Let's go and have a look at my new door. This door is from a New Zealand state house. State housing was big in the 1950s and 1960s. The houses were plain but incredibly well built. And this is a back door, a kitchen door from one of those state houses. It's made of New Zealand native timber. It's 2 inches thick. It's pretty heavy and plain, but it's awesome for what I want to do. My first job is to block up the old lock hole. So I've got a scrap piece of wood, and I'm cutting core out of that piece of wood. And once I've got that core, I'll epoxy that into the old hole, block all that up and sand it off. It's a fairly close fit as it is. I don't want too close a fit, because I want to make sure that I get plenty of epoxy down the sides to give it a good firm bond. You can see I've been doing a lot of sanding to clean it up, and you can plainly see that this part that I'm pointing to now has still got an edge that needs feathering. All the other edges are very indiscriminate and vague, and that means that they won't show through the paint. But this one that I'm working on now is now at the stage where I can prime the door and you won't see the edges, and there's no flaking paint. I'm doing this with 150 grit sandpaper, and then I'll blow a coat of 2-pack primer over it. Because I paint a lot of vehicles and things, I've always got 2-pack products. So this door's going to be quite cool. Being an old door, it's not painted with acrylic water-based paint. It's been painted with good old oil-based enamel. So it provides a good substrate for me to carry on with a similar kind of paint. It's got a touch of rot on the very bottom edge, so I'm just setting up my track saw. It's not a genuine track saw, it's a track for a skill saw. So I'll just set that up at the appropriate distance. You do that by measuring the sole plate of your saw from one side of it to the blade, and you take that into account when you set up this track, and it gives you a nice clean cut. I'm only taking off the bare minimum because I just want to clean up the little bit that was just going a bit soft and rotty. Nice and clean. So I'll give that a quick sand, and we'll get that primer on before the end of the day. On a warm day, this stuff goes off really quickly, so I've only got about 5 to 10 minutes to get these blocks in place. One of them is that core that you saw me cut. The other one is actually the end off my garden rake. I just cut an inch off the end of the garden rake, and I'll jam that up the lock hole, and that will block this up. They're not under any stress because my new lock mechanisms are going to be on the other side of the door. This side will be all the hinge side. I like to use two different contrasting primers when I'm painting something. My first layer goes down, and then if I can find a different coloured primer, I'll use it just for doing the touch-up bits, because it lets me see where I've been. Because this is a flat door, I can lay the paint on and get a nice gloss and not have to worry about runs. So I'm just going to do it all in one coat because it's a fine day. This paint's got a hardener in it. It'll be dry in about an hour, and I'll be able to handle it, pick it up and move it around within about 2 hours, and it'll be rock hard within a couple of days. So it happens really fast. It's the prep that takes the time. I've masked up the window. Before painting it, I picked out all of the old dry window putty, and once it's painted, I'll re-putty the window, Get some door furniture for it. Door furniture. Isn't that a funny name? Door furniture is door handles. So once I've done that, tomorrow I'll be able to hang the door and we'll be in business. And this little shed project, the cabana as I'm calling it, will be just about finished. I can't think of anything else that needs to be done after this door's hung. Then I can start my real project. The real project is wheel my old house truck out. That's going away to a farm to be retired, and I'm going to build myself 2 nice cabins to live in that will be attached together to give me double the living space that I've got now. Right, for the next part of the video, I've got a little treat for you, because nobody likes watching paint dry. So here's some arty shots of my onion flowers. This is the second one that's just starting to emerge. And here's the third one, starting to change colour, and all of the individual flowers are just beginning to open. They're like tiny, tiny little tulips. And here's the fourth one, where they've opened up and they're displaying the seed on the inside. I'll have these things by the back door until they dry out and I can harvest that seed. And here's my door with the newly puttied up window. Putty takes days to dry, doesn't it? But the window doesn't rattle anymore, which is good. And it's nice and shiny like a post office door with my rustic trims. So the whole thing really only cost me the price of the paint and the price of the screws. Winning!